Welcome. I'm Julie Bacon, and you're listening to the Mindset Coaching for Handlers podcast, a podcast for dog handlers who are on a mission to achieve big goals. Here I share lessons, insights, personal stories, and tools you can apply during your next show, trial, or test to help you strengthen your mental game and hopefully cue more consistently. Be sure to check out the show notes where you'll find details about the episodes, plus important links, including the link to the Dogged Planner and Workbook created just for handlers on a mission. So if you're ready to improve your competitive mindset, get out of your own way, and connect with your dog like never before, then it's time to get comfy, bring an open mind, and work your mindset. Hey there, and welcome back. Okay, I am getting this sense that it is time for another pep talk, okay? I feel like everybody is really pushing hard. You've been going for a long time, you've been competing, whatever it is, and you just need a little pep talk, okay? And the first thing I want to say is if you are here, you are working on it, right? You are working on your mindset. You are working on your goals. You have big goals. You have big dreams. You are going after some things, okay? And I am proud of you. I'm proud of you for going after things. I am proud of you for embracing a growth mindset and listening to podcasts like this and probably other ones on your way to trials. Like, I'm proud of you for working on yourself. And part of me thinks that seems weird because maybe we've never met. But the other part of me is if someone is not telling you that they're proud of you, I'm telling you, okay? So I'm proud for the work that you're putting in that no one else is seeing, and all of those hours of preparation and all of the struggles and all of the frustration that maybe no one sees because all they see is the Monday morning post on social media, or all they see is you at the ribbon table. They only see the outcomes. They only see, the things you talk about. But what we don't talk about are all of the struggles underneath and all of the effort we put in underneath. And yes, maybe some of you are sharing your journey on social media, for instance, or sharing it with close friends. But even as much as you share, there's still so much more, right? It's still like the iceberg, if you pardon the metaphor. It's probably a bad week for that, but it's still the iceberg, and there's so much more underneath. So I'm proud of you. I'm proud of you for the work that you're doing that no one sees, and for all of the effort that you're putting in, and just the fact that you're listening to this, okay? So you are making progress. And the thing about progress is it's really bad to measure progress by days and weeks. It is much better measured by months, ideally 9 months or more, because it is really hard to feel like we're making progress sometimes week to week, or we make progress and it's one of those situations where it's 2 steps forward, 1 step back, or 3 steps back, or at least it feels like it. But in the journey, you are still net positive, right? Steps forward. And so I think you need to remember that. And always look back more than 90 days to see your progress, to see that you're not where you were. And even if you still are struggling with maybe a training issue, like I am, for instance, with my Moxie and my weaves, right? She's the real star of this podcast, apparently. We're not where we used to be. I've learned so much more. I've gotten so many more insights. I've changed my approach. I've changed my perspective on it. We're not where we were, right? And so I want you to remind yourself of that, and remind yourself that you're not where you were, that the things that you were struggling with in January aren't the same things that you're struggling with now. I mean, we're halfway through the year, or maybe depending when you listen to this, we're halfway through the year, and already, like, what have you accomplished in this last 6 months? It's probably more than you're giving yourself credit for, because you're probably just looking at those list of outcome goals, and maybe some of them are still in process, but have you made progress toward them? Are you still showing up? Are you still putting yourself in the arena, as it were, every weekend, or showing up to class and working on it, or making changes, or making commitments? That all counts as progress. And I don't want you to lose sight of that, all right? Because we are so hard on ourselves and so quick to judge our faults or our perceived shortcomings or our quote failures. And we just forget that a lot of good is happening along the way. All right. So I just want you to remember that. And I want you to remember that it's hard to have a growth mindset, right? And just like it's hard to be in a sport. Sport is hard. I did a little something about that this week in my newsletter. Like sport is hard for a reason. Not everybody can do it. And there are ups and downs and all of those things. And sometimes the luck is with us and sometimes we get a gift and sometimes the luck isn't on our side that weekend. But we have to remember that that is part of what we are signing up for in this journey. And the highs would be a lot less fun if we didn't have to overcome on our way to get there. Okay. Success isn't a straight line. We've heard it, but sometimes we feel it more obviously than other times. Sometimes we go on a great streak and we're like, we've got it. We're done. It's all smooth sailing from here, only to be reminded by the universe that is it always smooth sailing for the end of time? Maybe not. Maybe we're leveling up. Maybe we're, being presented with harder challenges is because we're ready for them. So don't forget that signing up for a growth mindset and committing to this idea that things can improve, things can change with effort. It will have its ups and downs. And sometimes the downs are a lot less fun than the ups are fun, if that makes sense. So keep going. But we know that we are in that growth mindset. We are choosing the uncomfortable, right? In a weird way, right? We are, choosing the torture, if you will, right? We are choosing to push ourselves. We are saying that we want to get better and we are showing up to do the work. And that's uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable a lot of the times. And it's, like I said, it's not all just like fix the problem, the one problem you're working on, and then everything else is easy peasy for the rest of time. It's not really true. And some people, even when things are going right, it makes them more nervous. And their anxiety creeps back in because they're like, oh my God, is it too good to be true? When is this going to end? Other shoe dropping, yada, yada. And that can get in our head in that way as well. And have that fear of success or fear of suddenly you don't deserve it or it's some imposter syndrome. So look for those things to come up periodically, but also know that it's part of the journey and it's these little tests along the way to make sure that we are truly ready for the success that we crave and the goals that we have and that we're ready to conquer. Okay. So I know that we get those fears of what if it doesn't work? What if it ends? All of those things, but, we push ourselves, right? We can continue to make safe choices in the ring or safe choices in class, or we can choose to make it harder and push ourselves to be better and to do harder things to get ready for bigger goals and bigger moments. All right. So don't forget that you're working on this. All right. And really, you're never done. Right? You're never done on this journey until you hang up the last leash, right? And God forbid, I don't ever plan on doing that. I'm going to die with a leash in my hand if all goes well. And so we're never really done. It's always a journey. It's always growth. It's always growing. And we're always getting better, even when we don't really want to, right? We're always being pushed. Okay. So when you come across those doubts, those moments where you're really uncomfortable and you're like kind of too uncomfortable, right? You're having a Goldilocks moment and you're like, no, this is too much uncomfortableness. Okay. Simplify what's going on, right? Go back to basics, go back to the things that work. Go back, take a step back, right? Sometimes in our training, we know this when we train dogs, that when we're teaching them a new behavior, sometimes we have to take a step, quote, back down the ladder, if you will, and make it a little easier for the dog in that moment so that they can regain their confidence and then start to learn again. We're not different, right? If you pushing yourself and going on this journey is costing you, I'm going to use the phrase confidence points, then you might need to back yourself down a little bit and just simplify the process. Go back to those process goals, those simpler process goals. Go back to doing things that give you and your dog confidence. Maybe you don't need to do, the crazy, handling move, or maybe you don't need to go to the really hard environment or enter the harder class or what have you. Maybe you need to simplify it. Get your confidence back, get your wheels, your legs, your wheels, whatever, back underneath you, and remind yourself that yes, in fact, you are good enough to do this journey, that you can do this, okay? It's not making it easier, it's making it simpler, right? Because as we get better, we tend to take on more, which is fantastic. But in that taking on more, sometimes we overcomplicate it, right? Or sometimes we just keep adding. We started with 3, process goals and 1 mantra, and now we've got 7 process goals, 2 mantras, and a partridge in a pear tree, and it just gets messy. We can't maintain all of that all the time. So simplifying isn't making it easier, it's just making it cleaner and perhaps giving you a chance to really catch your breath and make sure that your confidence is still intact. So, pick 2. Pick one thing to focus on for your dog, one thing to focus on for yourself, and just, really remember to trust in your training and trust in your preparation. It's a great time to go back to rituals, go back to those things that serve you well, those things that, from getting up in the morning to walking to the line, like all of those things, and making sure that that's really working for you. And if you've cut some corners, maybe as we tend to do, then, go back to those things and recommit. Right? Sometimes when everything's going right, we cut corners because we're like, everything's going great. Like, everything's going well. I can get there a little later. My dog's been to this venue 100 times. We don't need a big walk in the morning. Or, I can, cut this corner, or, have a cupcake for breakfast, or whatever it is. And we find that when we cut some of those corners, it takes a little bit of grounding away, right? And it dogs like predictable things. They like to know routine. We do well with routine too. So bring those things back. Make sure that you're committed to those things, and, trust in your, again, training, your preparation, and your rituals, right? A phrase I use a lot is trust in the things that got you this far, right? How did you get this far? You did certain things, X, Y, Z. So trust those things that got you this far. And of course, if things aren't working, if you're not getting the results that you want, then really pause and be, I want to say, systematic in what you tweak and make changes to, right? Because it doesn't necessarily mean throwing everything away. It doesn't mean that, your rituals suddenly aren't working. Maybe something else has happened, or maybe the most uncomfortable answer, maybe you're leveling up and things are getting harder because you're getting better. And you and your dog, you and all your dogs, your teammates, you're getting better and you're ready for the next thing. So that sometimes is, again, uncomfortable, but necessary. Okay. And, that brings me back to, at the end of the day, we go back to our basics, right? We walk into the ring. We know how to walk into the ring. Your dog has done that 1,000,000 times. You've done that 1,000,000 times. Trust in those familiar habits and patterns and let them ground you. Okay. Let them, remind you of the familiar, that you know how to do this. Let your confidence come back. Remind yourself that you are resilient, that you can, bounce forward, bounce back better, whatever your preferred phrase is, from any of these setbacks or any of these frustrations. Okay. I did a post on this week about some of my Ted Lasso obsession, I'll just admit, and me rewatching the series because I'm in denial about it ending, personal problems. And, I wrote about the fact of that in Ted Lasso, he talks about having a brain or think like a goldfish, or memory like a goldfish, which is incredibly short, seconds long. Okay. And that really helps for those setbacks, right? Is to remember to take the learning away, but don't carry the setback around, especially if it's not serving you. And by the way, few setbacks are serving you for the future. So get the lesson out of it and then let it go and focus on your strengths and focus on how you can use your strengths to leverage growth in that moment. How can you get better? What are your strengths in the ring that you can be using to build your confidence for yourself and for your dog, right? While we're on the subject, another Ted Lassoism is, and if you've seen this episode, this is going to make a lot more sense. But there's another episode, a concept where they are in these sewers and Ted is trying to show a point to his team, like visually show a point to his team that, it's all poopy is, of course, in their wonderful English accents. But basically, there's a lot of parts in the world that are just all poop or are just poop. And we have to let it flow down the sewer of our lives, right? And we have to remember that some things just suck and some things just happen. And it doesn't mean a trend. It doesn't mean the world is ending. It doesn't mean you're regressing or going backwards. It just sucks for the moment, and we have to just let it flow down that sewer of life and recognize that some things are just poop, okay, or in their wonderful British ways, poopy, as they call it. I think I need to make t-shirts with that on it too. And then, of course, one of the Ted Lasso things from the very beginning is he hangs this sign in the locker room that just says believe. And remember that you are believing in your journey and that it is a great time to reconnect to your why and why you are in this to begin with. Did you start doing agility because you're like, I need a hobby where I can spend money to earn 75-cent ribbons. Like, that's what I'm really looking for in my life. Like, no, nobody said that. Nobody ever said that, It's a lot cheaper to buy the ribbons, than it would be to earn them, as we all know intimately. So, but what is your why, right? Reconnect to your why, put it on a note card, have it in the car for you, make sure that you are remembering and you are believing in the reason you got into this to begin with. And that you are believing in the progress that you've made and the progress that you know that you will keep making, right? You are, at the end of the day, the results that you get, that your life reflects what you believe, right? Because what you believe makes your thoughts make your actions create your results. And so it all starts with our belief. So we have to really believe that progress is possible, or the next cue is possible, or the next title, or the award, or whatever it is that you're going for, or maybe just the simple process goal of walking into the ring. Maybe just showing up, or showing up with your new dog, or showing up with your rehab dog, and you're the first time you get to come back into the ring. Sometimes showing up is enough, and sometimes having fun is enough of a goal, but you have to believe that that's possible. You even have to believe that fun is possible. If that is your goal, you have to first believe it, because if you don't believe it, then it's not the right goal for you, right? And if you want to get there, maybe you need a stepping stone goal on your way there, okay? So there's a lot of ways to work through goals, as you know well, but you need to believe it first. Whatever it is, you need to believe it first. So if there's something you're not quite believing, go back, do the work, ask yourself your why, do all that work again, and get back to that joyful place where you remember that you got into this to have fun, and to have fun with your dog, and to really maybe even push yourself. That's one of my whys, right? Is I want to see what we can do, how far we can go, what we can accomplish. But I want to do that while having fun. I don't want to do that while making myself and my dog miserable, right? That for sure is not the goal. The last Tedism I will bring into this is one of the aspects within the series is these two women who have this relationship. And I just love how they are always lifting each other up. They are always straightening each other's crown. They are always cheering each other on. They are each other's biggest fan. And I just want to remember that too, as in this pep talk, is remember to give somebody else a pep talk. Remember to pay it forward. Remember to say the nice thing, to hold the door open, to pick up, yes, some other dog's poop in the field without having to come in the ring, hold it above your head and make a big statement about everybody needs to pick up their poop. Just do it. Just shut your mouth and do it, because it happens, and maybe someone didn't have a bag, and just assume the best in someone, right? So do the nice thing, straighten each other's crown, be there for somebody, pay it forward, be the nice energy at the trial this weekend or in your class or whatever, right? We can all do that. We can all bring that forward, okay? Because you smiling to someone else who's having a crap day might be exactly what they need. So don't underestimate that, okay? Don't underestimate that ever, all right? So again, we are not solving world peace here. We are trying to have fun with our dogs. We are playing a sport. Maybe we're playing a recreational sport. Okay, I realize. Sometimes it's on ESPN, so sometimes it's there. But we are playing a sport for fun, for enjoyment, because we love it, because it's our passion. And I want to tell you, you're doing it. You're doing the thing. You're making the hard choice. You're walking into the arena. Some people don't even make it that far. You are devoting time and energy and expense to getting yourself better and to doing this thing. And it's working. You're having fun. You're getting better. And even on the worst days, it's not your self-worth. Your little green ribbon is not who you are as a person. It's not your value. You are so much more than that. And so embrace that, remember that, be that, have fun, straighten each other's crown, measure backwards by months, not weeks. Know that you're making a difference. Know that you're getting better. Know that you're not where you used to be. And know that you are amazing. Your dog is amazing. Your team is amazing. And there are a lot of people out there in the world who appreciate you, need your energy, and want you just at a trial on any given day because of the joy that you bring. All right? So no matter what you are doing this week, have fun with your dog. Thanks so much for listening to the Mindset Coaching for Handlers podcast with me, Julie Bacon. I am so grateful for your precious time. Check out my Dogged Planner workbook and journal available on Amazon. Just search for Dogged Planner. I also offer monthly membership that's perfect for ongoing support of your awesome goals. Check out theqcoach.com for details, or just stop by and check out all the ways you can work on your mindset. And be sure to follow me on Facebook and Instagram at theqcoach and let me know how it's going. Finally, please share, subscribe, and leave a review. This helps us podcasters tremendously. Plus, I know I get my best podcast recommendations from friends. Thanks, and have a great week with your dogs.